Although Cipriano Barata's new paper arose only after the so-called independence official date, we can say that the discussions that it proposes suited to this phenomenon, since the release of Brazil was consolidated only with the creation of the Constitution in 1824, or even with the recognition of this process by Portugal in 1825. Thus, we can state that the primary role of the media in the deconstruction of the Portuguese Empire in America was the construction of a public space for the political discussions, as the historian Marco Morel said about the arising of public opinion. In this process, the ideas of Cipriano Barata also had its place, bringing out the Enlightenment proposals for setting up a new national project based on his studies done in Portugal. So, it's a very important point for us to make clear that all this project, all this nation project that arises in Brazil, it's not original. It isn't formed here, but it came from Portugal, and Portugal took that ideas from France. And in that process, there were so many reinterpretations, there were new interpretations. So, the idea of nation that arises and that is discussed in the pages of his newspaper connects to the contact that the journalists had in Portugal with the reformist project of the University of Coimbra. However, as we already said, these ideas had gone through an interpretation. Although Cipriano Barata had pointed out in his new papers to the need of the figure of the emperor, since it was placed, it was seen as the center of the action and the safety for the state, like in the idea of the civil empire, he said that the ruler should be reserved for only the executive branch and should not concentrate power. Similarly, the figure of the emperor, as a journalist pointed out in some editions of his publication, is nothing more than a representative of the people, hence its legitimacy. Cipriano Barata discussed many issues during the time that his new paper existed, from 1823 until 1838. By doing that, he stayed in jail for several periods, what did not prevent him to expose the opinions he had about the government and what he believed to be right and fair for the nation. In order to confirm my statements, I'd like to quote some passages of his newspaper. In July 26, 1823, Cipriano wrote a brilliant text about the Brazilian political conditions, bringing back to the discussion some points he already talked about in other editions of the newspaper. And what is important for us to understand is the shape of this newspaper. So how does it work? Its structure, the structure of the newspaper, is characterized by the exposition of one or two facts, and after that he used it to start some explanations, presenting his own opinions. In this edition he talked about the government legitimacy, revolution and the role of people. Let's see what he writes. So I'm gonna first talk to you in Portuguese and then I will translate this to the English. So that's the example. E assim, os mesmos brasileiros, só por sua vontade, escolha e graça, fizeram que o Sr. Dom Pedro I fosse promovido igualmente ao posto de imperador. In a quick and free translation, we could understand. And so the Brazilians themselves, by only by their will, choice and grace, did Lord Dom Pedro I be promoted to the rank of emperor. In the same way, Cipriano pointed that all the actions made by the emperor must respect the people's will, like we can see in this another quote. Para servir de chefe do nosso poder executivo, segundo as leis fundamentais que todos fizermos e lidermos por meio de nossas cortes liberais, soberanas e livres, which in English means to serve as our chief executive according to the fundamental laws that we made and gave him through our liberal, free and sovereign deputies. In another edition from July 2nd, 1823, Cipriano already talked about the people's whole role in the Brazil independence. In his words, it was the people themselves who released Brazil from Portugal, giving the rank of emperor to be occupied by Pedro I, and if it was the people's wish, it could be any other person to be chosen for the same occupation. So, at the end, we can understand that the ideas exposed in this new paper had a major role in the independence, helping the Brazilian people to think about their nation in a moment that it was being built. Even this project of a monarchy with a power-limited government and a sovereign people wasn't the one which was implemented at that time. We can be sure that his ideas continued to be discussed on the Brazilian political thought and had a major role in the construction of a new and free nation. So these are some ideas I would like to share with you. Just for finish this, I would like to thank you very much for the attention and for the opportunity of exposing these ideas. It's just the beginning of a bigger research about the idea of nation in Cipriano Barata political thought, and it will last at least for the next 2 years. I invite you to read more about this explanation in the paper that will be published at the end of this conference. If you would like to share your opinions with me, please write to my electronic address that will be shown in the end. Then I'll be very glad to answer and share this amazing study with all of you. I would like to thank to my friend Paulo Sérgio, to another friend Janiarce, for the opportunity of recording this video in the school where I work. So thank you and hope to see you soon.